Talk Shoe. Recorded live.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you may be across the nation or around the world. Once again, you're listening to the VMware Community's Roundtable Podcast. This is podcast number 684. My name is Eric Nelson. With me today, I have my favorite co-host, Corey Romero. Today is Wednesday, March 20th, 2024. Corey, how you doing today?
Eric, doing well. Very
Good.
busy with vExpert tasks as always, and getting things up to speed.
Nice. Yeah, I know that you guys are doing the subcommittees now, right? Getting that stuff going, right?
Yep.
I was over at CTAB. CTAB's in Palo Alto today on campus, so it's been fun listening to customers talk about their journeys, navigating the Broadcom repricing, or I should say the VMware repricing scenarios that have been happening for the last 4 months or 5 months. So we got to get a lot of customer feedback. I'm not allowed to talk about most of it, so but I would say that I feel the pain of people trying to deal with the licenses, because we got a lot of license feedback at CTAB, right, as you can imagine, right? And it isn't just ESXi going away; it's just a lot of the products, the cloud products. A customer moved their whole workloads to ARIA, to ARIA SaaS, right, in the cloud, right? And guess what? That went away. So now they have to migrate everything back, right?
Yep.
So it's like, real pain for customers. So boy, I felt that, right? So it was good for me to be there, good for me to hear what everybody's doing. It's not my job to record the BUs or do all that recording, but so anyway, it's been beautiful in Palo Alto. We've been up on campus dealing with the CTAB event, which is about 75 customers that come in and meet with the BUs, and they're all large enterprise customers, so it was good. On the show today, we're going to get to talk to Graham Barker. He is Senior Principal Development Engineer at Dell, and we're going to be talking about one of his blog articles where he is talking about the vCenter Converta. No, it's not vCenter Converta Beta, is it? Or is it the license SSL certificates? Which one are we doing, Graham? I see different things on different headers. I'm not sure which blog article we're talking about here. Do you know? Did Graham freeze?
Looks like it.
Yeah, I think he did. I think we lost Graham.
Yeah. Oh, there we go.
Oh, there he is. Back. Which blog article are we talking about, Graham, today? Or are we doing both?
I don't mind. We can talk about both, or we can keep on topic with the converter, since everyone seems to be moving their workloads around everywhere, backwards and forwards.
Yes. All right. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the converter. That's what's in the header. I just had something in email that was a little bit different. It was both the other article, but which was a little less timely. I wondered why we were going to be talking about SSL certificates when you did that article half a year ago, and I think we probably had you on to talk about that before, maybe. Anyway, so let's talk about new vCenter Converter beta with Graham Barker. And that's the blog article. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Before we do that, Corey, any other news that you need to mention? I can talk about the Explore stuff, but I'll loop back to you first. Are you out of the snow yet?
Yeah, almost out of the snow. We're still dealing with the the water coming into the basement. Found a new leak this morning, so dealing with that. vExpert updates. Got 2 updates for vExperts. Licenses have gone out. If you have not received an email, that's because I haven't sent one. I updated this in Slack. So if you're a vExpert and you're not in Slack, go accept the invite that I sent you. I've got license information in there. I expect to have an email out tomorrow. We've got a little bit of bug with the email that's happening. Not a big deal. Get it fixed and get that email out tomorrow. Also, subprograms have opened. We've got 12 vExpert subprograms. So applications are open for vExperts. So make sure you get your application in. And reminder, be very, very detailed. Pretend we don't know you or know anything about you, and describe everything you've done and willing to do for those subprograms. And we'll move to voting here shortly.
Nice. Nice, nice. Well, as we know, there was a little news that was happening on social as vBrownBag announced that they're not going to be doing the Explore sessions at Explore this year, the community talks that they normally do a call for. And so that kind of trended for a little bit if you were paying attention to the community news. That's what they announced. But, I tried to clear that up a little bit. The community sessions will be at Explore as always. We always take what vBrownBag aggregates up. We also have a track inside of Explore where we aggregate those as well. So you could, last year and the last few years, you could submit your community talks either through the Explore on the VMTN track, or you could go over to vBrownBag and submit there. And then we merged that list together and then we submitted them to the event team. Because vBrownBag didn't get sponsorship this year because there's a lot of partner upsets going on in funding for MDF and a bunch of other the issues. They did not get funding to cover their crew to come to Explore to do the recordings, and that's basically the function that they provided. We always would buy the theater and get everything in Schedule Builder, but what vBrownBag did was they would actually record the sessions and put them on their YouTube channel, and then they would, get some sponsorships, and we would give them some sessions that they could sell to their sponsorships. They would get into Schedule Builder. But this year they just didn't have sponsors. And this is ringing true for not only vBrownBag, which I feel bad for, but also a lot of the VMUG UserCon sponsors have been weak because our partner ecosystem had to reset. And they had to reset because, one, it's a different company, and it is Broadcom by VMware, or VMware by Broadcom now, and it's Broadcom Inc., and they have different paper, and so they're requiring everybody to re-ink their partnership deals. The second thing they're doing, which is interesting, is they're making the SaaS, the subscription license floatable. So I know we announced that they said the licenses will be floatable from partner to partner. So if you buy a subscription license for vSphere, right, or for VCF, or but let's say vSphere, before that was locked to a given partner, that was locked to a different an existing cloud, that was locked to your machine that you deployed it on, right? If you wanted to vMotion into a cloud or vMotion into a partner, you couldn't use that subscription license, or move that ESX instance to a new place. You actually had to buy another license. Broadcom is making this transparent across all ecosystem partners so that if you purchase a subscription, you can use it anywhere you want. Right. And all the partners had to sign up for that, and they had to redo their billing. They had to get used to the idea that there was a common subscription license that could be used in any place. And because of that, all the partners have had to rework their environments to make that happen. And that is going to happen. So a lot of partners have already announced it. We expect all partners to announce support of that floating subscription over the next quarter. And therefore, that's given partners some time to have to redo the contract with VMware to support that environment, which means sponsorship packages for various community activities have halted while that work is going on. We expect that work to complete. Alistair Cook, who runs vBrownBag, decided that since he wasn't able to secure any sponsors, he was going to bow out from shipping his crew and equipment from New Zealand all the way to Vegas when he wasn't sure the sponsorship stuff was going to work its way through the system quite yet. So that's the story there. So I know it was in the news. We're hoping that the sponsorship will get worked out over the next quarter or two. Maybe he'll come back in Europe. Maybe he'll be back next year. But at this point, because he couldn't get that sponsorship locked down, and we can't promise him anything either, then he opted to just not bring his crew this year. So we're okay with that. But the community sessions will go on. The call for papers will come out on the 25th of this month, which is like 10 days from now. So get your papers ready to submit. We will have all the sessions like we always have, the 15-minute, the 30-minute. We're not sure we're going to record them and post them online. We're going to see if we can get somebody with some cameras to record them. But other than that, it'll be business as usual in the community booth. We'll have the code theater. We'll have the community theater. We'll have the lab tables. We're going to have the blogger tables. We'll have the kiosk where Corey will give you away little mini vExpert stickers that have what's his name? Gandalf stickers. That's what we're going to give away this year. The Gandalf iPhone stickers.
One of the coolest stickers. I love that sticker.
Coolest stickers ever.
Yeah.
So we'll still be there. Everything will look exactly the same. We're still going to have the hackathon. We're still going to have the vExpert party. We're looking at for a more interesting place to have the party this year. We've been to the Pinball Museum enough times that I think we can all play pinball blindfolded these days. So we're going to try to find something else cool to do, and we'll figure that out and start letting people know as we get closer. So same as always. So watch for the call for papers. That's coming out March 25th. And I think that's it, Corey. So just that's the update to the news. So Graham, we always ask people to tell us who you are and how did you get here. So what's your career arc look like in the community?
Well, that's a good question. I've worked in IT pretty much since my first job. And in terms of getting involved with the community, I saw my first vMotion, if you like, on ESXi back in the day, and couldn't believe what I was seeing in front of my eyes. I literally couldn't believe that you can move a server from one physical machine to another. And from that day on, I was kind of hooked on the technologies that VMware have been developing since. And I started to find, different ways of doing things, or that I wanted to encourage other people to adopt the technology. So I started a blog. And then a year or so from starting the blog, I was told about the vExpert program. And I think it's been 8 years since then. So
nice.
Plenty of articles up there. Yep. Lots of interaction, and obviously given an opportunity to go to VMworld and meet everyone here, and builds up relationships and things from there. So yeah, it's been a long 8 years, but very grateful for being accepted into the community since day one.
So you're based out of the UK, is that what I believe you are, or somewhere in Europe?
That's correct. Yep, I'm in the UK. Yep, I'm in England.
Nice. And what's your blog? Let's give a shout out. I have it in front of me, but I'll let you say it.
Yeah, it's virtualg.uk. So really simple.
Right. And Virtual G is for virtual Graham, I take it.
Yep, pretty much. Yep, trying to find something unique. So.
The man. All right. Virtual G. All right. So that's how you go check out virtualg.uk, and nice blog out there. Pretty, very, very professional looking blog. So let's talk about your blog article. Why did you decide to do it? Obviously early access is out. So why don't you take us through the blog article?
Yeah. So, for a long time, it's especially when virtualization was new, being able to move your workloads from a physical machine to a new virtualization platform such as vSphere was often redeployment. So you'd have to reinstall everything from scratch, and it slowed down the adoption to these newer technologies, which ultimately, as we all know now, improve management and reduce cost. So being slow to adopt these things was a big hindrance to business, and so VMware and others have developed conversion tools, but VMware's conversion tool has always been very open in the way that it can convert from various standards to others. And so for me, I've used it since really my first job in IT, and kind of followed its progress ever since. There was a period where it was wasn't really developed as much as it used to be, but I think that was maybe a couple of years back, and then VMware started a beta program for the solution to kind of bring it back, improve the security of it, bring it back to standard, and start redeveloping its functionality. So I instantly signed up to the public beta, which anybody can do, and was accepted into the program. And then this gives you early access to the software before it's released to the general public. Gives you the opportunity to actually speak to, the product team and the developers via the online forums, and you're able to submit feedback and see things a bit ahead of the release time. So I instantly deployed it in my lab, had a good look at this functionality, and started some testing myself. So I wrote a blog about it to get people to make people aware of this. And since the blog article, there's been a couple of releases, and the last one being 6.6, which was only a month or two ago. So there's been lots of progress with the solution since I wrote the blog, but it's all the same kind of thing, really, in terms of how to install it. It's just there's now additional functionality.
Nice. So 6.6, if I remember, you're converting one to another. They go, the converter allows you to go various different container formats, right? If I remember right. Why don't we review just the container formats? How many are there?
Well, you have your source machine, if you like, and then your destination. So typically, you can convert a powered on system in physical format to a VM that is ready for importing into something like Workstation or ESXi or vCenter with ESXi, and or you can just save the files offline for importing later on. But one of the great things about it is because it will convert physical machines, you can also convert virtual machines. Now, this might seem a bit strange. Why would you convert something from a virtual format to the same virtual format?
Right.
But it's actually really good. It's actually really a very easy way of just migrating things that have complicated network requirements. Where you don't have vCenter as the source or something, and your tool requires that. So it's quite a nice way of doing that, and also for just archiving off an old VM or something. You can just use the converter for that purpose. So there's a whole multitude of source and destination options, and it's one of the tools that has the biggest support for Linux as well. And in 6.6, it's now supports Ubuntu up to 2204, and Red Hat as well up to version 9. So that's ahead of a lot of the other options that you'll find available.
It reminds me of just when I would use the imaging software just to make a dupe of my my drive, right? Like where I would just go grab it. Then all of a sudden you start finding other uses for it, right? You can use it as backups, right? You can just go grab an image and dump it over here, and and then you have it, right? So it's an image there. And so what you're saying is when you have a network connection there, then if you're doing converter, you can grab it and convert it and then stuff it somewhere else. And it just gives you the versatility of being able to containerize or grab something and then put it. Can you just write it to a file or move it across the network, use it as kind of like a big copy or choosing a destination if you want, or archiving these things at the same time? Or do you just do it real time and move it to another vCenter and you're converted?
Yeah, so for me, I tend to use it in my home lab. So especially nowadays where most companies are now fully virtualized. But so if in the home lab, if I've set up a new hardware on a different version of ESXi, rather than kind of joining everything together or, opening up firewall rules between the two labs, etc., I could just use the converter, bring it all to my workstation, and then export it directly into my new vCenter Live without any of the overheads of something like vMotion. And I can, it also has clever things like scheduling and service starting and stopping. You can also change the hardware spec as well, which you can't do with a live vMotion. So it has additional benefits to some of these tools that we're already familiar with, which I really like about it. A common case is something like disk resizing. So you can imagine, I'm sure everyone's seen this before, where you want to reduce the size of a drive, but that's really challenging to do. So especially while maintaining data integrity. So what Converter can do is, whilst the machine is even powered on, you can convert the machine from physical or virtual to another virtual to vSphere or workstation, and it will actually reconfigure the destination drive to something smaller and copy all the blocks across from the start to the end of that drive. So, provided that there is ultimately enough space for all the data, it does allow you to reduce the size of drives, which is great if you've thickly provisioned something and you want to reclaim some of that space back.
Got it. Yep. And I believe, I don't know what Julia said the podcast was, but I believe the last one we were on, that's what we talked about, right? I think we did talk about the converter article that was here, right? And so,
yeah.
Yep. Question: when they do a new version, I felt like the tool was fairly complete. What are they adding?
Yeah, so this version they've added support for more up to date Linux operating systems. So as we said, Ubuntu and Red Hat in particular, them being kind of the most common or the most popular at least. But it has also added the ability to convert powered on virtual machines that run on Red Hat KVM and also Nutanix AVH as well. So that's now actually supported in the product, whereas before it wasn't something that you could do supported. And there's also been some changes to the UI as well. So just a refresh. I think actually I do recall last time when we spoke about this, we were kind of joking about how they've improved the security of the solution, but the UI looked like it was still maybe 10 years old.
Right.
But now the UI has been modernized ever so slightly, but just to keep it up to date with the latest UI standards.
The brand police caught up to them then.
Yes, it does look a little better. Yeah.
Right. All right, so that's the deal there. Like that, new version supporting Red Hat, Nutanix, couple additional platforms that you can go grab. Right, take. It takes. When you say it supports Red Hat, I would assume it now knows this is the OS, and I can go grab this, this OS and make a VM out of it. Is that what you're talking about? Or are you talking about it running on the? No, okay, all right,
yeah. It can convert them as a source machine, yeah, and OSs over time they'll change some of the management planes, like how the systems, how services start up, for example. And as I said before, with the tool, it can automatically shut down services before conversion, and then post conversion, it can bring them back up cleanly. So it needs to integrate into all of these specific things with the operating system, which is why OS support is so important for the full feature set of the tool.
So let's talk Nutanix. Did they never do Nutanix before? I'm surprised we do Nutanix now, right? But maybe being able to go grab Nutanix images and bring it back under vSphere.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I think the complications there were just how the machines were virtualized with Nutanix. So it was not something that tool had any awareness of before, but now obviously it clearly can could take those machines and convert them. So you get the full feature set pretty much of the tool, no matter what the operating system of the source machine is. Most things are supported, but the underlying hypervisor was probably adding some complication there, and caused it to have some problems. But yeah, it seems like that's fully supported. As with as with a multitude now of hypervisors, so it gives you a lot of choice now when you want to do migration or even just testing. If your machine will work on a different platform.
Nice. All right, I'm looking at your blog, right? I got it. Converter. Yep, it's there. New version. Takeaway would be, if you want to get early access, go join the beta program, and you can be a beta test as well. How long does the betas actually run for usually?
It's a few months normally. I think the last one was a few months along. So it's probably best to register maybe as soon as you can, and then when the version comes out, you'll get an email and you'll be able to log in and get access to all the bits and all the documentation. And then you can test it in the lab, test it even with on production platform, but take test workloads or something.
All right.
And yeah, give it a go.
All right, I'm going to go back to your blog now, right? Because I think go check out virtualg.uk. Another article that I think is good out there is configure snapshot alarms in VMware vSphere client, right? What is that?
Yeah, so the vSphere client is obviously where we manage all of our ESXi servers and our virtual machines, containers now, and various other things. But there's always been, and while there are additional benefits over time coming to the UI, one of the biggest challenges I've had is where are my snapshots? And yes, there's a tab you can click, you can have a look, but the problem with snapshots is they can actually cause major issues with your workloads. They can slow things down, they can cause things to crash, and ultimately cause you to run out of space on data stores or even vSAN. So if you don't manage them well, you can start to have significant impact upon your production systems. So I was thinking in my lab, especially where it's not really looked after as much as it should be, there's no proper monitoring tools or anything in there. How can I do this, and how can I do it at zero cost? And I discovered that you can actually create snapshot. It's always been the case where you can create specific alarms and notifications within the vSphere UI, but the snapshot one was something that I wasn't aware of. That was just there. It's just native in the UI. So you can set up rules regarding snapshots, and if they meet a certain criteria, such as size, you can have them actually show up in the UI as an alert. And that can really get you. That can proactively get you out of a lot of mess if you know about them. Maybe when they're 5 or 10 gig or 100 gig, whatever you want to set them to.
Right.
Yeah, so it can really save the day.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. I'd like to know if anybody got in and hacked my snapshot. That's what I really want to know. Like if the signatures changed or sizes changed or anything else, checksums changed, that could send me an alarm going, you've got a problem, Eric. Your snapshots aren't here anymore. They've changed or anything like that. It'd be nice to have snapshot alarms or just as treated as alarms. That's pretty cool. How many other are there a lot of software alarms that go? I know there's hardware alarms. I assume there's got to be a lot of software alarms that can go in and set as well. I'm just looking at the vSphere client alarm. Just looking at the alarm configures, but that's kind of interesting. Snapshot alarms. Wow. Go look at his blog. I'm just looking on his blog right now. He kind of gives you nice little arrows on how to go in to your vSphere client and set up an alarm based on that. Name the alarm, and then go set that up, and then review and publish. Right. So pretty cool there.
It's so simple to do, and honestly, it's zero cost. It's integrated automatically. There's nothing else to buy or install. It's just a little bit of configuration. And while you're there, take a look at the other options and see what else might be suited for you.
How do you, I'm looking at your GUI snapshot in the blog, right? Like, so I get in, you go in, configure, add an alarm definition, you add your alarm, you name it large snapshot, right? Then you take the target type or virtual machine, right? And then where do you actually go in and set there alarm rules. So next, create the alarm, go down, set your alarm rules. And then they have maybe a language like a if then or then.
Exactly. Greater than, smaller than, you name it. All the options are there. Yep.
Right. But that's just sizing. Do they do anything else besides sizing?
There might be dates as well. You might do something on how long it's been there for, and then of course you could potentially, add those two things together, so have a combination.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, you might.
If I have something that's over 5 years old that's huge, please send me an alarm and I'll remove it.
Yes, and I'm not sure about vCenter directly, but I know vRealize or also operations or Area Operations Manager can do things by the creator as well. So you can either look at who created a particular object or issue in the from vCenter. But it would be interesting to see if you can do it by user. That'd be kind of interesting. If I've done it and I want to know before anybody else, so I can fix my mistakes. But yeah, there's all sorts of options in there. It's well worth. It's like it'll open your eyes to something that I've recently forgot about in terms of functionality. So yeah, worth looking at.
All right, next article, because I'm just like, I love your blog. Everybody should go there. Virtual G, kind of nice articles here. And this is silly, but I've run into this. Official VMware Visio stencils, right? So do people know that this exists? And is this actually from VMware? Do they publish this as part of the documentation? Where did you find these things?
Yeah, so I found this a number of years ago on the VMTN forums. Somebody from VMware had been working on the VMware validated designs a few years back and had put all of the icons into a Visio format and released them on GitHub. So I thought, well, I'll just essentially discuss it, show you what's in them, what's available, and post a link in the blog. And you'd be surprised how many people look at the article even now, even though some of those things are a little old. I republish it every year just because everyone seems to ask me, is there any updates and things? But other than the link changing periodically, those stencils look quite modern to me, and I think they just give your documentation a bit more professionalism when you're putting things together. So yeah, that's quite a popular article, and yeah, I get asked
Yeah,
quite a lot about that one.
Yeah, just publish it here. I was looking at it like, wow, like I could have used these like many times, right? Just having something to throw into my presentation. And we see a lot of presentation at CTAB and others, and people get them, right? But nice little set of visual icons. Looks like there's maybe 50 different icons here, right? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10 rows. Maybe 80 or 90 different icons, cloud computing icons to you name it, keys to search to. I want a bunch of server icons too. Why don't they have everything together? I like it.
I think there's a couple of server ones in there,
Yeah.
but there's also like a whole section on integrations as well. So external storage with for your VMDKs and vSAN integration and all your like, NSX, and you can kind of map out what you want your data center to look like in Visio, something like a logical layer as well as doing it right down to the physical.
Right. VPN, Ethernet ports, Wi-Fi, all the ones you'd want, right? Super cool. Yep, nice resource to have, and there it is on your blog, right? Publish it.
Yeah.
So let's see. Other articles to showcase renewing your VCSA web certificate automatically. So you need SSL for your virtual vCenter appliance, right? So you got an article there that talks about how to. Yeah, I think you wrote a script in that, right? Is that your script or is it somebody else's? But it looks like there's a PowerShell script that will go grab the cert from Microsoft and bring it down and do the right stuff, and then load it into vCenter server appliance, and away you go. Is that what that is?
That's basically it. Yeah, it's something I threw together in a free afternoon, and in the lab I tried to use best practice. I use an internal certificate authority to sign all my certs. I hate clicking that thing that do you wish to proceed, etc. every single time I log into something, and I don't like accepting it forever because I think that's a bit of a security risk, even though it is just a lab. So I decided, oh, you know what? I'm fed up of this. I'm just going to automate it. So what do I have to do? And wrote basically a little script there, which might not work in all cases, but it works for me fine. And feel free to take it and adapt it. It's posted on GitHub. And it essentially, for those that actually want to replace their SSL certificate of vCenter server with a signed one, then this script will generate a CSR. It'll send it off to your Microsoft certificate authority if that's what you use. It'll sign it, it'll bring it back, and it'll import it back into your VCSA and do a reboot to apply it, without having to sort of jump around consoles and things. It's not great for production use because you would typically want to have have different accounts and different steps of authorization for these things. But for a home lab where you haven't got these restrictions and you've got multiple vCenter servers on different versions for testing, it's for me it works perfectly fine. So if anyone uses it, let me know. If you've got any feedback or you'd like to see something else integrated with that, more than happy to take that on board and see what I can come up with.
Great. Awesome. So as you plod through 2024 now, any things that particularly excite you that you're thinking you might do some research on next? Or do you just make these articles as you stumble into things?
Mostly as I stumble into things, but it's also when there's like a new product or a new version of something that's released and I find something interesting. So I know there's some new application stuff happening right now, but the biggest thing for me is with the change of licensing. A lot of people are affected by this, and I see some people saying, "Oh, this means we can't do this, or this means we can't do that." But I'm just seeing it as an opportunity to write more content. With the VCF license, you're going to get access to a lot more of the VMware ecosystem that you would tend to typically. So there's a lot of customers out there that, for example, don't use ARIA operations, and now they're going to have a license for it. So for me, this means I can now write. There's more opportunity to write content to guide people through that implementation process, or any advanced configuration. There's going to be more questions on the forums that we can answer from there. So yeah, I see it as for us, for experts at least, more opportunities for content.
Yeah. I would say after sitting at CTAB and listening to, there were some customers that came in and talked about their journey to VCF, right, and the full stack, right. There were definitely really cool stories of how they 4x the performance on storage, right, by moving to vSAN, right, and getting the storage admins to buy off on it and what tests they need to do, and there was a process, right. It wasn't just like, oh, okay, well, we just decided to do this project, we're going to do it. There was a human resource element to it because storage admins had to be involved. And then the network admins were like crazy, right? Like listen to the stories of, how to roll NSX out and, when do you connect, to a switch versus when do you have a virtual switch where, how to lay that out and how to get the network admins on board and which pieces of the network did NSX handle and which ones did they stay away from, right? And there was a lot of consulting practice work around, getting everybody to accept and adopt that. But they had decided that they wanted to absolutely move that direction, right? And there was some systems cost savings that happened because of it. They got quite a bit of cost savings. They got increased performance on vSAN, right? Like their storage was, and so they took but it was a 2-year journey, right? It was a 2-year journey for them to just move to the full stack, right? And they weren't full stack across the board. They were only full stack on like 20% of their servers, right? But they at least they got it there. And so that's a lot of work for everybody. There's a lot of learning that has to happen. A lot of customers are complaining. They don't want to spend that kind of money. They don't, but that's where we're headed, right? That's what VMware is offering. And so when you purchase your next VMware licensing, you're going to get NSX and vSAN, right, as part of your package in the enterprise, at least. And so this is an opportunity to spend time learning how to do that. The customers that did it were wildly successful once they got there, right? It saved them money, it saved them time, agility, performance, everything. It was a major win, but it was a lot of work. Right. And I think that's an opportunity for vExperts and everybody in IT it's a lot of work, and work is good, right? Especially if there's significant savings when you're done with that work, right? Now, for commercial people and small SMB, I feel they're paying because they're going to be stuck with vSphere, and vSphere, I think prices for subscription went up, and certainly we've heard a lot about that. But if you're in the bigger enterprises, right, or you're in places where you can use storage and network effectively, right, then there's a win if you get through that project, and that's a lot of work, a lot of learning, and a lot of good stuff for people. So And given that we're in a lot of enterprises, right? Like I expect a lot of pickup on this over time, and that will mean higher pay, better jobs, right? More earnings opportunities. That would be my assessment. I could be totally wrong, but that's the way I see it. I see it, to your point, Graham. It's like it's an educational opportunity, and nothing has forced us to do this, right? But if they do force it, because customers are going to end up having it on prem, they're going to own the licenses for it. And same with ARIA, right? Like you're going to have the ARIA licensing. You can use ARIA automation, right? To manage things at scale, automatically. So how much do you want to use of that? There's a lot of learning that can happen here.
Exactly. There's a lot of learning that needs to go on, and hopefully the vExpert community can help with that to a certain extent. But also, it'd be great to see new vExperts coming about because of the challenges that they've had or the work that they've done in terms of adopting, the new licensing and all the new products. So that's also a nice thing as well. Is we're going to hopefully get a new batch of people joining that have come about because of it, and we hear some different sides of the fence and some new stories and challenges and how they were overcome.
Yeah, I agree. Are you planning on submitting a paper, a talk? Are you going to be in Vegas? Maybe I guess you say in Barcelona, because I don't think you're going to fly all the way over here just to be in Vegas. But are you hoping to attend Explore this year?
I'm hoping to be in Barcelona. Vegas, unfortunately, is just a little bit too far away. With the holiday time required and things from work, but hopefully I'll be in Barcelona, and I'll have to put my thinking cap on there and see what I can come up with.
Great. Well, looking forward to it. I guess the last thing that we'll do, I know we got a late start, so but we come into the top of the hour here on Wednesday afternoon, as always, 12 to 1. We do the barbecue report because we live stream on vBarbecue. So youtube.com/vBarbecue. If you want to look like, see what Graham looks like and say hello to him at Explore next year. In the UK, barbecue. I should have all this memorized now. It's been long enough that I should know what every country. In Germany they do sausage, no question, and even in the Netherlands they do a lot of sausage. In the UK, let me guess, lamb. Right? Do you ever get out and barbecue any lamb or any interesting stuff?
I think our weather is unfortunately not in the sort of the barbecue spirit. You probably get one opportunity a year to put the barbecue on outside.
All right, so I got a question. Why do they put the fish in newspaper? Right, like I don't still understand fish and chips and the fish is wrapped in the newspaper. Is that a thing, or is that just a tourist? Is that what the tourists do, or do you guys still do that?
When I was younger, it absolutely was a thing until health and safety became a bit more of a problem. So they now wrap it in newspaper material, but without the ink. So so it's still kind of newspaper.
Right.
Almost, yeah.
Well, what's the point of that? Is that just to keep it warm? Is that the way you take it from the shop and you take it home and it stays kind of warm?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's probably I think obviously it keeps it contained and keeps it warm. It's probably to be honest, it's probably a good thing for the environment as well, using paper, because you can recycle potentially. But it's always been paper. As far everywhere I've been, it's always been gets wrapped in paper, and that's it. So it's one of those things. Right. It's one of those traditions.
Now, do you do fish and chips, or are that not your thing also? I know people do pubs. Do you do pubs as well? Are you like a pub, beer, drinking fish and chips kind of guy, or not really?
Not as much, not really, no. But occasionally you grab the fish and chips when you're out, especially if you're near the sea or something. Seems to be quite a common thing to do on the seaside. We've got a lot of sea with us being an island as such. But I think that's probably where it would be for me. It'd be more of a special treat rather than a daily thing. Yeah.
All right. Well, there you go. No barbecue for Graham. No fish and chips for Graham. I don't know what else you get over there in England besides fish and chips and beer and
tea and scones, I think, isn't it? Really, is
scones.
the
Okay. So, do you do tea and scones?
I do tea. Yep, do
All
drink
right.
tea, and that's the main one for me. But the scones, I think that's more of a well, scones is quite a traditional thing, but it's probably seen more as an older generation
Older generation. My grandmother used to have
treat.
us over. She was from Scotland, Glasgow, and so she would invite us over to her house because she lived only a few blocks away, and we'd go over there for afternoon tea. So
Exactly.
she had her tea at like 2:30 or whatever it was. I don't remember the hour, but it was either 2:30 or 3. It was tea time, right? And you could go over, you could have a tea, and we would have tea and cookies, not a biscuit.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting. Maybe that's
a tea and
maybe
a
the
yeah.
Maybe the scones is more of an English thing, and the cookies is a Scottish thing. Who knows?
I think it was just that it was too much work to make a scone, and
Okay.
a little maybe too close to dinner or whatever. So I think it was just like, here's a little cookie. You could have 2 little cookies with your tea, right? Something simple and plain, non-fattening, right? Good for us little kids, right? Yeah.
Oh,
Well, good.
great.
Well, good. Graham, it's always nice to see you. It's good to know that you're still out blogging, and grab the converter and go play with it. If you're going to do some conversion, moving lots of VMs from one place to another, right? Like that certainly is what everybody's looking at right now. As we go through the transition of products, I'm sure there'll be some work in there for everybody. Thanks a lot for being here. Graham, are you on Twitter?
Yeah, virtualg_UK. Get me on Twitter, and I'll be pushing out some more converter content soon. How to optimize the tool and things like that. So, yeah, keep in touch.
All right, that's good. Mr. Romero, as always, thanks for doing all the hard work and showing up. And looking forward to the sub programs, and we'll be back again next week. Julia has another one scheduled, I'm sure, so we'll be then. Talk to you all later, and go get yourself some lunch.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for having me.
Yep.
Thanks, Graham.